Hello everyone, and welcome to another one of these tier list videos. I did a Kendrick Lamar one yesterday. I'm actually recording this on the same day, but it is what it is. Today we're doing an update to the Kanye West tier list because I did one um, about a year ago, but since then, Donda released, Donda 2 sort of released, but I probably won't include it in this tier list because it's on this tier list, but I'm not gonna rank it because it's not really a finished album. But anyway, my opinions have changed. There's a new album to include. So yeah, we're gonna update this tier list. This time I'm just gonna do solo albums. So I'm not gonna include Watch the Throne. I'm not going to include Kids See Ghosts. I don't know why. I'm not going to include Cruel Summer. I don't know why the two Sunday Service projects are on here. I'm not including those. Let's go in release order the same way we did for Kendrick Lamar. So I'm going to start with The College Dropout. This album is easily a 9 for me. It's just like, fuck, it's so good. Like, in terms of debut albums, it's just like, how do you even come out with this as your first album, Like, so many good songs, like All Falls Down, We Don't Care. Probably my favorite song on the album is Never Let Me Down. Then there's, like Jesus Walks, Through the Wire, Family Business, Last Call. Just everything's so good. So I'd say it's a 9 out of 10. It's not like his absolute best work, but it's an easy A tier. Next we have Late Registration, sort of a continuation of The College Dropout, but still just as good, like on par with it in my opinion. I'd say that in some ways it's better than The College Dropout, and in others it's not. It's really kind of on par with it for me, but there's so many good songs: Hey Mama, Roses, Crack Music, Addiction, Touch the Sky, Gone, Diamonds from Sierra Leone, the one with Jay-Z, but the one without Jay-Z is great as well. So I would say that I would put it slightly above The College Dropout personally. Like I said, it's like a tiny preference. These are both like 9 out of 10 albums for me. They're both so good. They're pretty much on the same level, but just out of personal preference, I'm going to put it slightly higher. Okay, so next we have Graduation. My hot take on Graduation is that it's a great album. It's a lot of fun. It's like an 8 out of 10. But it's very overrated. Like, I've seen so many people say it's his best album. I just don't think it comes anywhere near to that. I think it's very good, very enjoyable, but for me, it doesn't reach the same heights as most of the projects in his discography. So, while I do respect Graduation, I think there's so many good songs on here. Stronger, Homecoming, Can't Tell Me Nothing, I Wonder, Flashing Lights. It's an amazing project. But I'm going to put it in C tier for now. Like I said, still a good project, but I don't think it comes to those same heights as some of the other stuff he's done. Okay, so next is 808s and Heartbreak. This album, I can't remember where I put it in my last tier list, but I feel like it's grown on me a lot since then. I still think there's some weaker tracks on here. I still like those songs, and I love so many songs on this album. Say You Will, Welcome to Heartbreak, Heartless, Coldest Winter, Pinocchio Story. It's a beautiful album, and it's been so influential since its release that I think I can't put it anywhere other than B tier. It's an 8 out of 10. It's not quite a 9 like these two, but I still like it more than Graduation. Next is My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. I think I put this as number 1 last time. It's not my number 1 anymore, but I'd still say it's a solid 10. The only song I'm not so big on is Blame Game. I never really, I get it, but I think the Aphex Twin sample was kind of the way that he handled it, and the skit at the end kind of ruins it as well. It's still a decent song, but it's probably my least favorite on the album. But the rest of the album is just classics after classics. Devil in a New Dress and Runaway are like top 10, top 5 Kanye. Runaway is possibly his best song, to be quite honest, but I feel like most people would agree with me on that. Same with Lost in the World. That's like one of my favorite Kanye songs, and pretty much every song on here is a classic, so it has to go in the S tier, but it's not my favorite Kanye album. But 10, it's a 10 still. So next is Yeezus 2013. And, this is like an experimental just opus. Like, it's only 10 tracks, which is what I think makes it so good, is it's so kind of condensed into just this short, like, experimental, hard-hitting experience. And, once again, some of his absolute best songs on here, Blood on the Leaves, Hold My Liquor, Bound to, and, I like all of the songs anyways. On Site, Send It Up, Guilt Trip, New Slaves, Black Skinhead, it's all so good. So this is a 10 for me, and I actually like it slightly more than My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, just because of that like experimental nature. Like, Kanye himself has said that My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy was a very safe album, and while that is true, it's still, like, incredible. But Jesus was really like something different, and while obviously Kanye wasn't the first person to do experimental industrial hip-hop, he did it in a very unique way, and that's why I think Jesus is such an amazing album. Next we have The Life of Pablo. This is, in my opinion, Kanye's magnum opus. It's like just so weird and so Kanye in a way that none of his other albums are. You've got songs like Waves, Father Stretch My Hands, Ultralight Beam, Wolves, and then like some of the best songs in his entire discography, in my opinion, like No More Parties in LA, Saint Pablo, both of which have like some of his best verses in his entire discography. And like I love every song on here so much that, in my opinion, this is my favorite Kanye album, which is a bit of a hot take, I'm sure, but I don't know, he's never done anything like it since, and probably never will. And for that reason, I just think The Life of Pablo is such a kind of complicated masterpiece. Next is Ye. My hot take on Ye is that it's really good, and I put it quite high last time from what I remember. This is an 8 out of 10 to me. It's a great album, only 7 tracks, but Ghost Town, the kind of centerpiece of the album, is one of his best songs, if not his best song. And, all the other songs are great. I Thought About Killing You, Wouldn't Leave, No Mistakes, Violent Crimes, the whole album, it's 7 tracks, but it's 7 really good tracks. And for that reason, I'm going to put it just here above Graduation, but below 808s. Which brings us to Jesus is King. And I'm sure you all know what I'm going to say about this. This could have been so much better. I mean, the thing is, Yandhi, from the leaks that we have and the demos and snippets, was clearly a very different project for Kanye. It went in more of a trap direction, which obviously he ended up doing again with Donda 2, and we'll see how that comes to fruition if we ever get the finished version of Donda 2 and what it's going to sound like when it's finished. But I think Yandhi could have been a very interesting project from Kanye, if not one of his best, but still, like a fun album. But obviously he had his whole kind of reconnecting to God and Jesus thing in 2019, which ended up with him turning Yandhi into Jesus is King. Even though only 3 tracks from Yandhi actually made it onto Jesus is King, and in my opinion, inferior versions for all 3, although some of them are still good. But I don't hate this album as much as most people. I'd say it's like a solid 6 out of 10, but it's the potential, it could have been so much better. But there's still tracks I like. Use This Gospel. Controversially, I love Closed on Sunday. On God, I think that's the Pierre produced one. Yeah, On God is a great song. C'est La is an alright intro, but Chakras from Yandhi was a lot better. The Storm, I just used the Yandhi name. Everything We Need is like the biggest wasted potential ever, because The Storm from Yandhi was such a good song, and Everything We Need is just, it's good, but it's so short and it's not as good as that. Oh yeah, I didn't even mention what's possibly the best track on here, which is Follow God. It's not the best track. I think Use This Gospel is the best track, but Follow God is a very fun song. But this is an easy D tier. Then we have, of course, Donda. And what I would say about Donda is that I think that it's possibly the closest. I said that Kanye is never going to make another Life of Pablo, and I don't think he will, but this is the closest he's come to another Life of Pablo for me since the Life of Pablo. And I think just the kind of overwhelming nature of this album, there's so many tracks, 23, not including the kind of part 2 bonus tracks. But there's so many good songs in it, and I think, experiencing the album rollout for this for the first time as a Kanye fan was so fun. And the album listening parties and watching the album grow and evolve over time before it was released was such an interesting experience to have. I think the final version of the album is very good, if a little bloated, but there's not many tracks I would remove, just a couple. I think the only outright terrible track is Tell the Vision, but you know, everyone unanimously agrees on that one. But I think it really takes what Kanye was trying to do on Jesus is King and makes it much more compelling, because with Jesus is King it was more of this like preachy, just generally talking about Christianity, and I think Donda really relates Kanye's faith to himself in a way that that album couldn't. And so in that way, it's so much better. And there's so many good songs like Jesus Lord, Believe What I Say, Come to Life, No Child Left Behind, Off the Grid, Hurricane, another Yandi track that it's great to have actually released, 24, Pure Souls, Keep My Spirit Alive, Moon, Heaven and Hell. You know, this album, it means a lot to me, and I think it's very good. You know, I can understand why some people don't like this album as much as I do, but I still think it's a very good album. Easily like a 9 out of 10 for me, and so I'd place it right here, just below the College Dropout and Late Registration. So yeah, that's my final tier list. Like I said, I'm not including any of these because, you know, this is solo albums only, and Donda 2's not really an album, at least not yet. So yeah, this is my updated tier list for 2022 for Kanye albums. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your tier list is, how you would change my rankings. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'm gonna do more of these on other artists soon. I'm not sure which artists I'm gonna do yet. But yeah, that's my final ranking. Thank you so much for watching.